Hello everyone. So today I wanted to give you my feedback on using DWM for almost 10 months, I think. So the very first time I installed Arch Linux on my ThinkPad, I of course installed it with DWM, which is a tiling window manager, and the way DWM works is a bit different from other window managers. I have So by the way, just to give you my background, I have always used KDE, and I was using KDE on Fedora for almost 15 years. I guess, yep. And I had absolutely no problems using it because KDE is straightforward, easy to use. It is just like using Windows, but of course, you can do a lot of wonderful things when you are on Linux. But I was not really using the tiling window manager. I never really used tiling window manager, although I tried in between for many times some other window managers. But I was always coming back to KDE. And to be honest, I'm not really into distro hopping. I don't really install new operating systems. I think I've done that very early in my career. I think so when I first started using Linux, when I first tried Linux, it was of course in late 90s, yes, when we used to get those magazines with a copy of Linux, and it was in 2005 when I first started using Fedora. And to be honest, for some strange reason, I was always on Fedora because it always worked for me, and I was of course more comfortable with doing things on Fedora because there was a good community. I guess there is still a good community, and you can find things easily if you're stuck somewhere. And I have always used Fedora because I want a system that works. I don't really want to spend too much time playing with the modifications, and of course, in the beginning things were not really smooth when I was first using when I first moved to Fedora. But I was using Fedora quite comfortably for 15 years, and in the beginning, I, of course, had to spend some time making few things work. But I never really tried anything apart from KDE. Now, last year, I felt that I should probably change. I should probably give myself, this challenge of trying a new distro along with, of course, a tiling window manager. And I think I'm quite happy with that move. I I'll be honest with you. So in the beginning, of course, it was not at all easy and simple. Things are definitely different, but I believe tiling window manager, if you give it some time, not really days or weeks, I think you need to give maybe few months of your time. And the best way to learn something, the best way to basically adopt something, if you want to, if you're really adventurous, is to use it as your main operating system. So last year in November, I installed Arch Linux on my ThinkPad, and I'm using it, and that is it. So I'm basically forcing myself to learn it, to install all the tools and applications that I was using earlier. But of course, when you're on Arch Linux, you have the option to build your own distribution from scratch, almost from scratch. Of course, when you install Arch Linux, you have nothing but a terminal, and you have to install all the applications. But the way tiling window managers work is definitely not straightforward in the beginning. For example, if I have to, and by the way, right now I'm using DWM along with ST terminal and D menu on top. So if you go to suckless utilities website, you can find everything about these things, and they're actually very simple applications, to be honest. I mean, if you want to install DWM or any suckless utility, you basically clone the repository and you build it from source, and that is it. You basically have to compile it yourself and then use it. So there are a few things that are really good about tiling window manager, and I think that really works well once you of course give it some time. For example, if you have to start a terminal, which is the thing that you normally do when you're on Linux, you want to use terminal. You should use terminal as much as you can for doing things. I try to use a lot of terminal based applications. I try to use a lot of shell scripts for solving my own problems and doing it myself, or do it yourself if you want to learn, because it will make you efficient and quick in doing things. Now, right now, of course, we are on terminal, and you can do a lot of wonderful things if you want. And what if you want to? And by the way, if you're using Tally Window Manager, you will. You don't have to, but try if you don't use mouse at all. I only use mouse when I am using browser. Otherwise, there is no point of using browser. And now, let us say if I have to browse something, I can, of course, type in Brave. And by the way, I'm using this Alt P, which will basically let you type the name. So basically, it's like application launcher, but you can do a lot of wonderful things with the menu. But right now, I just want to launch Brave, which is my browser. And now the browser is on the left-hand side. So this left-hand side is basically your primary focused window. Now you can, of course, do something like open a website, ravisagar.in or whatever. And I think my Wi-Fi adapter card, my Wi-Fi card is probably not working properly. It happens on this particular ThinkPad. It is old. I need to fix it. I need to maybe replace it with a new one. Or actually, I have one more ThinkPad. I'll probably use that one. So yes, my card is not working. Maybe there's some interference. But anyways, that is not the point. So now it is working now. Okay, so basically the left-hand side window is your focus. Now, what if you want to, of course, go back to the terminal? So there are a couple of ways of doing it. If you want the focused approach, you can just do Alt Enter, and the window will come on the left hand side, and you can do again things that you want to do. Maybe you want to run a command, and you can, once you're done with your command, you can actually go press Alt Enter, and you're back to the original browser. But you don't have to do it. For example, maybe you want to keep your browser on the left hand side, but because sometimes it is a bit strange and weird to have browser and terminal always swapping the positions. So what you can also do, you can also do Alt J. Basically, Alt J will cycle through all the windows that are currently open. So maybe you have, let us say this is your terminal window. You may want to open one more terminal window. Maybe you want to, for example, if I copy things from one location to another location, when I have to take a backup, of course, you can do it from within one terminal window, but I try to open one more. And now, of course, you can do something here. So right now the time is, or whatever you want to do here on this particular main active window, you can do it. And you can actually press Alt J to go back to the, so basically you can cycle through all the windows. And by the way, so far I have not really used any mouse, and that is a good thing and great thing about it. Now, if you, now right now the focus is on the window which is like right behind me. Now if I press Alt Enter on this, it will become the main primary window, and the window that was there earlier is now next in the list. So basically, if you press Alt J again, it will basically cycle through all the windows, and you can do resize. So maybe you want, let us say you want your browser to be a bit bigger or smaller. So you can press Alt H or Alt L to basically change the size, which I really do quite a lot. And you can, of course, go back to your next active window, and if you press Alt Shift C, it will close the window for you. So it will basically just get rid of the window, or whatever terminal window or a browser window or whatever application that you may have open. And the way it works, I think, is quite simple and efficient. You can do a lot of wonderful things. I do a lot of things with it, but I can do a lot more. For example, you can also have a split vertically. If you press Alt on this, you can actually detach it, and it will become floating. If you press Alt and right mouse, you can actually resize. For example, this particular window, which is nothing but my webcam streaming on MPV, and I use a shell script to do this, is also nothing but a window which I can expand. I can basically do Alt and the bounce button, which is in the center, the wheel. If I press it, it will basically it can actually become, it can take the whole space, which I don't really want to do right now. So Let me just get rid of this, and also maybe get rid of this one, and I'll bring the I'll bring my face here again. And if I press Alt and right mouse again, I can resize if I have to. So I think DWM, if you give it some time, I mean, it may not be days, it may not be months for you, but maybe weeks or days for you. But do give it a try. Do try to use it. And I think if you are focused on terminal-based applications, if you are focused on basically using less and less GUI-based apps, then tiling window manager makes. I think it will basically add to your existing productivity. I think because if you are doing something on the terminal, but at the same time you may want to open a browser window, you may want to, let us say, look at some code on Stack Overflow. You can do that without using your mouse. I mean, there is nothing wrong with using a mouse. You have to use a mouse, especially when you're using a browser. Although you can still use your keyboard. But again, I mean, most of the websites these days, they are not really keyboard friendly, although they all should be. But the idea here is to be productive with keyboard as much as you can. And also right now I'm using multiple windows. So let me show you my other window, which I guess I can show you. So basically, if you press Alt Shift, so let me open one more window here. So if I do this, Brave, and if I press on this particular window, Alt Shift and comma, it will basically move this particular window to the other monitor. So let me show you this monitor. So this is the monitor. This is actually the Brave browser, and this actually works quite nicely. So let me just do it one more time. I'll press Alt Shift and comma. Now you're back to the next to the next monitor, and I feel that the way I was working before till November last year, I mean, there was nothing wrong with it, but because I was using KDE and it was just like using Windows because it was all UI based. And although I was using a lot of terminal based applications, but with the ability to shuffle the windows and move from one window to another window, of course, there are a few things that you can still do with Alt Tab. For example, right now, even in KDE, if you have like maybe a couple of windows open in different desktops or different monitors, you can still assign shortcuts. But tiling window manager makes things really efficient, in my opinion. And I think I'll probably stick with tiling window manager, especially DWM. DWM is, in my opinion, quite straightforward and easy to use. If you want to get started with some suckless utilities, so go to suckless.org and try DWM ST and I believe dmenu, which I think you should give try. I mean, I think these applications are very simple. They are not at all heavy. If you look at their source code, I mean, they are nothing but some, not even a lot, but few C files, and you can actually modify them if you want to. So do install DWM and dmenu and ST if you want, and also take a look at some of their other suckless applications, which I tried. Few other applications, and I think they are all quite straightforward and easy to use. Of course, you have to spend some time in the beginning just to learn how it works, and especially the configuration part. There is no configuration file. For example, if you have to modify something in DWM, you have to basically modify the source code and then you have to build it again. So the way the configurations work, let us say if you want to, either you can do it yourself if you know what you're doing, or you can basically go to their site, and you can take a look at some patches. So basically, with the help of these patches, you can always improve or bring in new feature if you want, which I try not to do. I try not to have too many patches. For example, if you look at ST, this is great terminal, but it is a bit weird sometimes. For example, if you open your ST terminal, there's a gap here which is annoying, and I know how to remove it, and there is a patch for it. But I never really bothered to be. It's a small thing for me, and I try not to have too many patches, too many changes, because I want to keep things simple. But you can. I mean, if you're comfortable applying patches or keeping track of those changes in the configuration file, in the header file, or whatever source code that you're trying to modify, you can. I mean, feel free to modify it as long as you're comfortable. And to be honest, worst case scenario, if things go wrong, just install it again. I mean, there is nothing wrong in installing it again. So do give it a try. Do give suckless utilities a try. In this video, I just wanted to give you my feedback, my 10-month experience of using tiling window manager, especially DWM, because I also use DWM along with other suckless utilities, and I think they all work really nicely together. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new today. Thank you very much. Bye bye.